Yeah, those steel doors, they close those when it rains too much. So yeah, if anybody could comment to me on the acerbis 5.8 gallon. There's one with a black sticker and one with a white. Is there any difference with those? Because I would probably get the one with the black sticker. It just looks like a deeper red. I'm going to put a red tank on this bike because there's a red tank on it already. I don't know if decals can hold on it. It looks like it can because there's decals on the acerbis tank, but I don't know if that's embossed on there. So I would love to be able to put decals on it, but being that it's plastic, I don't know if it'll hold. You know, it's not like a fender plastic. But the most important thing to me is to find out whether or not you can run with both petcocks wide into each other and open. Because if I can't do that, there's no point in me getting that tank. Because if I'm, let's say, driving, I have to reach down, like there's a petcock on each side of the bike, that's impossible for me to do. I'm not going to do that. You know, that's dangerous, and it just doesn't make sense. And if you have to pull over and open one and close the other, that's totally nuts. I'm not going to do that. I would only do it if it was gravity feed, which this bike is gravity feed, so, because I took away the vacuum stuff on it. But the petcock was never vacuum feed anyway on this bike, like the KLR. The KLR has a vacuum feed, which I got rid of also. And so far I'm not totally missing the KLR, but once in a while I'll have a dream about it, you know, because it is really a formidable tool. I mean, if you got to go for a long drive somewhere, that's the bike you want to be on. And my wife can't stand riding long distances on this bike. She said the seat's not comfortable, which said KLR is like sitting on a couch, you know. So right then and there, I'm not going to be going on any trips with this bike. So I'm like stuck now with one bike, and I don't have any other bike. I don't have a backup bike. So if I need to service this bike, it's not good. I mean, the economy has fucked me up because that money from the insurance, it just got sucked up into other things, and I'm not too happy about that. And I really feel like a backup bike is important, especially since I go around on a bike. But I guess what I'll do is I'll just, you know, maintain this bike. This bike is very easy to maintain. That's one thing that I do like about it. The KLR, without a doubt, has more maintenance because it has more parts to it. You know, like the engine has a water pump. It's got a radiator that can crack, you know, which has cracked on me, and you know, it's a different kind of engine. So for me to say that the KLR is the same to maintain as this bike is not true, because I've had this bike for a while too, and this bike is very easy to maintain. I've had no problems with maintaining this bike, and I don't think you'll get stranded on this bike, you know, as long as you keep an eye on things. Stuff though, you know, as long as you keep an eye on this bike, you'll be fine. But if you let shit get out of hand, well, of course you're gonna get stranded. But with the KLR, I found like unexpected things that can happen, but you pretty much can always get home. I mean, as long as you carry some handy stuff with you. Like I've always carried like some JB weld. So when my radiator cracked, I just put some JB weld on there, and that worked fine. And I was able to get home. You know, the thing was pissing out of there, high pressure. I could smell antifreeze. And when I went down, when I stopped the bike, and I didn't turn off the bike, I left it running hot, you know, so I could see where the leak was coming from. And it was like steaming out of a hole, you know, a crack. So that made me realize right away that that I had to put some JB weld on there, and it worked fine. I mean, it actually, never actually leaked again, but I ended up replacing the radiator, and then right after that, the fucking bike got totaled. But the JB weld never broke loose. Like it only like seeped out, because the bike would on a really hot day would smell like antifreeze. And I'm not sure if that was antifreeze left over. I just don't know. But getting back to my point, this bike is much less maintenance than the KLR. I mean, if you just keep an eye on it, adjust your valves when you need to, which are immensely easier to adjust than the KLR. And keep an eye on sounds that you hear, like a timing chain tensioner and things like that. As long as you're good on that, should be fine. Oil, of course, you know, you want to be sure. Frequent oil changes. And chain maintenance, stuff like that. This bike is not as hard on the chain, though, as the KLR. The KLR is a beefier bike, man. I mean, that thing chewed up chains on me. And I'm not really sure why. But I found, like, this bike to be very easy on chains. It doesn't really fuck with the chains. Like, even clip-on chains don't fuck with me here. Whereas I've had, like, clip-ons break on the KLR. But, you know, if you talk to most riders, they don't like using clip-ons. And I just use them because I can't be dealing with, like, in the middle of the road, like, pressing a link in. So I just carry links with me and clip-ons. And I just put those clip-ons on, you know, if I break a chain or something. But it's never happened on this bike, knock on bone. So the way you deal with it, you know, on this bike is you just keep an eye on your chain and do the pull test on the rear, you know, the sprocket, the rear sprocket. You just pull it. If you can pull that chain away from the rear sprocket to the point where you can see, you know, see skin through it on the other side of your fingers, then it's time for a chain to be changed. Now, I've changed chains on this bike and not done the sprocket. I've done, you know, different scenarios, but most of the time I try to change the front and rear sprocket when I do a chain. But if I can't, I just pop on another chain. And I know that's not good because the chain will wear. You know, if you have worn sprockets, it's going to wear down your chain much, much quicker, which is true. But I've seen guys in the Philippines driving with chains that were totally janked up. I mean, really janked up. You know, people there don't change stuff as often as we do, so their bike maintenance is different. Very different than we are here. We're more proactive, but also there in Philippines, you could get your bike serviced pretty much anywhere for minor repairs. You know, like tube changes, things like that. That's very easy. Pop them babies on and be done. Tire changes, some minor welding, things like that. And, you know, you could get them to do heavy engine work, but you got to tip them well. But it's not much. I mean, if you gave somebody a $10 tip there, they would take your whole engine apart, you know. Put in timing chain tensioner, timing chain. They could change the chain. They could do stuff like, you know, I had my Yamaha XT there. Somehow or another, the woodruff key just broke. I think there was too much tension on the flywheel, you know, from the timing chain, and it snapped that woodruff key. So I brought an extra head with me there and swapped that baby out with another head that I had, like a used head, and then he redid the valves on it and popped it in there. I posted a video on that, and it was like, you know, $50 for, and had the bike for 2 days. But if you're willing to spend, meaning like throw $100 at something, you can get something done the same. Like someone will just work on it all through the night. But the problem is like the quality of the work. Somebody's gonna be looking at the money just like anyone would. Like if someone offers me $1,000 to do a job and my eyes are bleeding, I'm gonna keep doing it. But how good am I gonna do it? That's also what you encounter in Philippines. You're always gonna find somebody who's willing to do the job, and you throw money at it, you'll get it done. But I don't know if you want to do like some major engine work at 3 o'clock in the morning, just because you want to continue your journey. You have to think about it. Tire changes and stuff like that, no problem. 3 o'clock in the morning, just throw some money at it, and the guy will say, we're closed, but you throw some money at it, he'll open up. He'll open up and do the job, get that tire changed for you without a problem. But like I was saying, you would not want to be doing that for major engine work. And I tried to throw some money at that major engine work, and it wasn't going to happen because I was looking at the guy, man. Like he did, his eyes were fucking bloodshot. He was already started drinking, and I was like, whatever money I throw at this, it's not going to help. That's what I knew. I knew at that point that whatever money I threw at the situation wasn't going to really do much. It wasn't gonna solve my problem. That was basically what I knew. It was gonna make someone, ruin their night too, because they were just gonna work like a fucking dog to get it done, and their eyes are bleeding, and the guy was already drinking, so he was looking like he was gonna fuck it up. But I've seen shit like that in the Bronx too. Like I paid someone to do my window late at night when my window got busted. And I went to the Bronx, to get it done. And they were all like, we're closed. And I just threw some money at it. And then I get these guys that were totally drinking. And they did my window. But they they were just fucking shit up because my rear window was tinted. And they were like, oh, we don't have a tinted glass, And then they put in like a clear glass. It looked kind of funny. And then the window didn't go up and down right, and I mentioned something, and then it was just like they were totally drinking. And then one of the guys, that's when I just got out of there. I just paid him and got out of there because one of the guys was telling me about. He was like, LED light, and I was like, no, man, I'm good. And he was pretending that he didn't understand me, and he just took like a pliers, reached down. He had the hood of the car was open. He opened the hood, and I was like, no, I'm good, man, I'm good. And then he took like a needle nose pliers, reached down, and just ripped off the retaining clip for the H7 or H4 bulb I had. Just like pulled the clip off. I was like, yo, what are you doing, man? And then I was like, no, I don't want any LED light. And then he had already like pulled the clip off and then pulled the bulb out. And I was like, no, dude, no. And then he just kept putting the bulb in. Finally, I was like, no, man. I took it out. I pushed it aside nicely, not in a bad way. And I took the bulb, gave it to him, the LED, and got my bulb back and put it in. But it was just resting in there. And I had to get another retaining clip. So that was a nightmare. I mean, those guys were playing music so loud in the garage that you could not hear a thing. So I guess that's how they get their groove on at night. And the guy, the shop owner probably just lets them do that, because they're servicing glass at night when nobody else is. But it was definitely an eye-opening experience. It kind of like reminded me of what I would do if I was running a shop, at night. You'd want to have a good time and drink a little bit. When people are drinking, they get a little bit out of hand. And he had a few too many, and he was just kind of like pushing me to get that LED light because they make a lot of money from that. Because when I looked at the LED light, it was some cheap shit, like Chinese crap that I could buy on eBay for $20, and they were charging $150 for it. And I was like, no, dude, no, man. because it was like some China brand LED, and he was trying to sell it to me at 150, and he was tearing ass, like tearing the retaining clip for my existing H4 bulb out with like a pliers, just ripping it, and the spring went flying. I was just like, whoa, this is not good, man. But of course I didn't get upset because those guys were drinking, and you don't want to be doing that when people are drinking. You don't want to get like somebody upset in the Bronx. But I was grateful, you know, the glass got replaced, because I had to park that car back in the Bronx again, and I've recently stopped parking in Bronx because it's just too risky. But, you know, I had to park that night in the Bronx, and to park in Harlem. And if you were to park a car in Harlem, pretty much everybody there knows when you get your glass broken, you can't park that car again that night with just plastic on it. Because not that somebody will come back to rob you, they'll come back to sleep in your car. And you know, I've seen that on video. Like, you know, people will come and they will just like check a car with a broken glass and just has like the tarp on it, and they'll push it and go into the car for the night, you know, because people want to stay warm. I mean, can you blame them? You know, being out in the cold in New York, it's not cool, man. You know, I don't blame them for wanting to get inside. Damn, this thing is so easy to split with compared to the KLR. The KLR's beefy, man. I mean, but the thing is, people do move out of the way with the sound of the KLR. I probably can louden this thing up a bit. I mean, they definitely move out of the way with the KLR. The problem with the KLR is if you do bounce off of something, you got that heavy weight and momentum pushing against you. Like, I had a bus one time squeeze me real bad, and my left handguard bounced off the bus, and you know, he like it bounced me into the side of a van, and I just could not, you know, maintain the bike upright. It just went bam, like, you know, it just boomed to the left and boomed to the right. The momentum just took me, and I was not able to put a foot down to stop the bike from, you know, pounding into that van. But that was a nice guy. He moved out of the way. I think this bike sounds pretty good, though. I mean, I like it because it's not too loud for me. You know, the KLR was fucking mean sound, though. It sounded really mean. And that's for sure, you know. I mean, the KLR was a mean sounding bike, without a doubt, compared to this bike. But this bike is a different animal. You can just kind of like blend in on this bike. The KLR was a big, visibly big bike, and it definitely caught the eye of cops more. So I think that this XR might be better. The only thing is that as things in New York change, I wonder, as the cops start to like enforce a little bit more, they might start thinking that this is a dirt bike, you know, until they get a closer look at it. So I don't want people like fucking with me like that. I'm not into that. Damn. That was not cool. You gotta watch it with trucks over here. They'll fuck you up. But yeah, if you guys can also comment on me on this XR, if you think it's too quiet. Should I take the silencer tip out? I'm curious, you know, because this thing is pretty quiet. Well, I'm gonna put my sunglasses down now. Yeah, so this is Linden Boulevard. Take it across to Merrick and just turn right in the office is right there. Their internet went down at 3 o'clock in the morning Saturday night. And I got a alert that it went down. And I was supposed to go yesterday, it just didn't go. See, that's why you want to take it slow, man. People just do the filter right through the intersection. This place can be kind of rough coming through here. Gotta take it easy. So yeah, I'd like to know from commenters if this bike is too quiet. It might actually be too quiet for New York, because I don't see people really driving quiet bikes here. It's just not something people do. But it is relaxing to drive, you know. If you're driving this thing all day, you don't feel tired from it. The KLR would definitely make you tired.